Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Alexander. I'm the developer of astrology, and in this video, we are going to be going over the partial lunar eclipse, full moon in Capricorn. Uh, Big deal going on here. And in this guided meditation video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what this means for us, and then I'm going to guide us through a meditation where we can eliminate obstacles, because that's what the full moon allows us to do. We can eliminate obstacles. We can help boost our intentions that we set on the new moon, which was also an eclipse earlier in July. So anyhow, we're going to use that window of time when the cosmos wants to really support our ability to remove those obstacles. And this lunar eclipse is happening 24 degrees Capricorn on July 16th at 9:39 Universal Time. So if you're watching this within the full moon window, which means 24 hours before that time, 24 hours afterwards, you'll be able to do the meditation and activate it, because the way that these astrological windows work is that with the moon anyhow, you have 24 hours before, 24 hours afterwards, and then you can access that quantum state where we can eliminate obstacles. It's a matter of timing. That's what this is about. That's why I sell the registration, the ticket, so that you can really get into that, tap into that energy and do it at the right time. Like I always say, you want to go to the bank to withdraw a large amount of money, you need to go when the bank is open. You want to eliminate obstacles, you need to do it when the moon window is happening. So that's what's going on here. Of course, the teaching is good forever. So if you're watching this after the window, you can do that, but you won't be able to do the meditation with any kind of effective outcome. Now, oppositions, well, let me put it this way. When the moon and the sun are in opposition, that's what gives us the phenomena of a full moon. So let me put it the other way around. A full moon is when the moon and the sun are opposing each other. So it can represent a time of reflection, or it can represent a time of having opponents. But we need to bring things into union. We need to bring things into balance. We need to bring things into showing us things that we were not aware of all the time throughout the rest of the month. Now, it's really interesting also because during full moons, we can tend to swell. Our amygdala can, enlarge a little bit. The water molecules in our body tend to get bigger, and I mean, we see that. So, we see how it's affecting us on Earth. It's also affecting all the nature and everything. Things just get a little bit more intense. So that's why we are here, to transform any kind of negativity that we want down into that quantum state, on that quantum level, or what I just simply call stardust, that stardust level, that original concept where we can really bring obstacles into the state that they came out of and then create something new out of it. So anything that's been opposing us from within, anything that's been opposing us from without, we can really melt it down and create our reality. Now, before we begin, let's do what's called a thymus thumb for my vessel building exercise. You can look out for that on my YouTube channel as well. It's going to help balance right and left brain. And it's going to activate stronger energy so that we can really prepare ourselves for what's to come. So I will show you how to do it, and then you can do it after me. So you're just going to thumb 3 times on the thymus, but you're going to first say the mantra, I have love, faith, trust, gratitude, and courage. My life energy is high. I am in a state of love. Ah, 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 ah. Okay, it's that simple. So now it's your turn. Beautiful. So this is a little bit of a special full moon. Why? Because it's that partial lunar eclipse. So that means that the sun, from our point of view, is going to pass in front of the moon. Okay? Now that's what it looks like from our point of view. Now, on a spiritual level, that's why it's a lunar eclipse, because the moon is not receiving all of the light that it can. Okay? Now, on a spiritual level, this really prompts us to become selfless. All right? Okay, and I misspoke. What I meant was it's like the Earth's shadow is the Earth is coming in between the sun and the moon in that opposition. So it's the Earth's shadow that is covering the moon. So that's why it looks to be eclipsed. Okay? Now, on a spiritual level, this really helps us to become selfless because the moon, represented in Dash astrology, it's that selfish take nature. So whenever we're having a lunar eclipse, our inner selfish take nature is being blocked. It's being eclipsed so that what can happen is that we are becoming more sharing. We become more giving. We become generous so that we can really shine into all directions. Now, only partially though, because this is a partial lunar eclipse. So it's not a total eclipse, but it's a partial eclipse. But anything that can help us do that, let's welcome it right in. Now, either way, we had a solar eclipse in the beginning of July, and now we're having the lunar eclipse now in the middle of July. We're approaching the end of the month of Cancer, and what this means is that we are finding whatever it is that we began on that new moon solar eclipse. It's coming into perfection now on this lunar eclipse. Now remember, we should always strive to move from a place of perfection. Now that doesn't mean that we need to obsess about things and make them all our ego's idea of perfect, but in terms of completion, like when things are complete, they find the state of perfection. So are we complete with the things that we've started? The things that, it doesn't matter if it's like on a big scale or a small scale, because the point is that did I get these steps done? Did I complete, like, even if you have like a 100-step project, did I get step 1 done and do I feel complete with that? Then I go to the next one. Because if we don't feel complete about something, we're going to recycle these incomplete feelings into that new reality, into that new situation. Now, again, in Dash astrology, the moon really represents how we receive things, as well as how we really assert ourselves based on what we have received. It also shows us our survival patterns and the secretness inside of us. Now, when the moon is eclipsed by the earth, by the sunlight, which represents how we share, how we express ourselves, our reactive, our ego, me first nature is being eclipsed. Okay, again, so this is really important. Now, the problem is that this can be really good for someone who's on a spiritual path and really frustrating for somebody who is on that me first path. So our vessel, our ability to receive, is blocked out during that lunar eclipse, which means that we might feel deprived. We might feel like we're not getting things. We might feel like we're being abandoned or left out or even disconnected from what's going on. And this will most likely happen when we are attached to our ego. So if we are able to really detach from our ego, if we are really able to kind of like eject from the ego control and remember that our ego is here to serve our divine will, we will be able to reboot ourselves and refresh our connection to that divine energy that's seeking expression, which is like just a beautiful thing, all right? So with that said, the lunar eclipses, like I said, can be very problematic, but it's also a very auspicious time for, beginning the spiritual path or getting a jump start on it or even refreshing that spiritual path so that we can be liberated from that samsaric mind that's caught in the illusion of duality. Now, every full moon, is putting us on a quest. Now, every full moon is asking us a question. Now, again, it's that time of reflection where the archetypes that are connected to that full moon, they ask us a very specific question to assist us on our quest. Now, in order to see what obstacles that we need to remove, we can use that question, reflect upon it, and see what comes up. Because they're reflecting back to each other, the sun and the moon, the great illuminaries of the sky, but that is the light of truth. And we can use that light of truth to see what's coming up for us. We can access the best within us, our potential, beyond any quality of duality, of right and wrong, black and white, left and right, all of that. So, the question for this full moon is that, is my individual reality supporting growth? creativity, and development for myself and others? Where, with whom, and why is it not? Very intense question. Very intense question indeed. So, um, it's like we really are looking at our immediate environment. How is this, how is it supporting our growth and creativity and our development? Now, again, this full moon is in the sign of Capricorn, which is an earth sign. So it's digging up a lot of feelings around feeling limited or being in any kind of enslavement or bondage, doing what we need to do in order to become free. Now, the ruler of Capricorn, which is the planet Saturn, is in alignment with the moon, and this is giving us more emphasis on liberation. So again, is my individual reality supporting growth, creativity, and development for myself and others? For myself and others. So not only for ourselves, but also for other people. So the full moon is going to really eliminate that. Now, when we talk about support, we're talking about energy. We're talking about encouragement, even honest encouragement, not enabling, not codependence, not just saying things that we want to hear or that we think others want to hear to manipulate them, but honest support, because that encourages growth, creativity, and development. If I just hear what I want to hear all the time, it's like, how can I ever change? And then that leads me into the next thing, is that we can grow with negativity, because even bad things can grow. I mean, think of a tumor, God forbid, right? So what this means is that we can choose to either become enslaved by our illusions, which is ruled by Capricorn, and survival patterns, the moon, or we can choose to bring light to these areas where we experience too much darkness in the form of our survival patterns or our ego. So this obviously includes a deep consideration for our individual reality. So is it supporting the growth that we want? Or is it supporting the growth that our ego wants? Is it supporting creativity? Or is it supporting the same old solutions? Is it supporting the chaos? Is it helping us to develop, or are we receiving all the justifications, all of the good ideas that we need to remain lazy and stuck and content with less? All right? So we really need to look at where this is happening, with whom it is happening, and why it might be happening in that way. Then we can, with the power of this lunar eclipse, cut out whatever that we discover. So we need to ask ourselves, what or who are we a slave to? Now, this is a trick question, because if you don't know by now, the only thing that we are a slave to is not our boss, it's not some authority figure, it's our own ego, right? So I always teach that we need our ego in order to be in this world, but the ego should not be the one calling the shots. We need to be the one calling the shots, right? So I know it's easier said than done, but if it was like as easy as it sounds, everyone would be liberated and the world would look totally different. Now, also the other thing that I teach is that the spiritual path is a really difficult thing. And many times what happens is that when we begin a spiritual path, we're really excited and we want to make these changes, but then once it starts getting difficult, and once we start to become more accustomed to the spiritual laws, such as cause and effect, we start to feel like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to how when things are easy and this and that, and we lose our zest for the spiritual transformation. But it's really, or we want to go back into bondage. But it's really in those moments when we are about to make a huge breakthrough, and that we can really make a change, and we can really, have a strong sense of getting to that next level, and not just, again, wanting to hear what the ego wants to hear, okay? So I wish us all the power to really force ourselves and force Capricorn to be on our side during this lunar eclipse, because there's a lot of power to be had here. There's a lot of ability to really manifest the reality that we want, depending on where it's happening in your chart, okay? We can really control our actions, control our thoughts, control our feelings, and manifest the destiny that we want. So this is extremely powerful for everybody here that that's available. that we can melt down these obstacles, melt down these ego identities, and create something beautiful out of them, right? Because if we think about it, our obstacles, and that's what we're going to do in this meditation, our obstacles are creations that we have made. And they might not be exactly what we want, but they are our responsibilities. They are things that we have to take care of. And that's why I'm going to guide us through this meditation so that we can really optimize the energy there. So remember, this is only good during the full moon window. After that, the door is closed, which is why I offer this workshop within that full moon window for a fee. I'm going to suggest that you use the Capricorn essential oil blend or the Capricorn essential oil spray and bust out your moon meditation workbook and open up to the page that says the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. If you don't have it, please pick up a copy on rxander.com. It's like 14 bucks, I think. You can also get a pre-filled version for, I think it's $100, where I go through for the whole entire 12-month cycle from this full moon to the next full moon in 2020, July 2020, and give you every single house placement of where your moon is occurring to the dash system. So now this meditation is going to really allow us to melt down anything that we've created down into the quantum soup level. So we do this in 3 connections, 3 steps. First, we make a connection for ourselves, meaning that we create our desire, which can be anything that we want in the world. Then we're going to make a connection to our birth chart and help correct our karma. So we look at which house this is occurring in, the full moon's occurring in, and then this is an area that you're going to want to transform. And then lastly, finally, we're going to make a connection to help heal the world at large, okay? So now step 1, what I want you to do is identify, okay, and write down what it is that you really want and really want it, okay? You see it right there on the first page. And then you're going to write down what negative forms you're going to melt down into primordial matter, into stardust, to pay for this desire. So how are you going to pay for this desire? Which means, are you going to stop gossiping? Are you going to work on your jealousy? Are you going to stop lying or manipulating or seeking praise or having negative thoughts or being violent or poverty? You know, all this stuff. So the more that we identify, the more that we can, the more like money we have to transform that energy to have our desire, okay? So pause the video, take the time that you need to write that down, and when you're ready, press play, okay? Okay, so now I ask you to please close your eyes and know that the power of the full moon is making this meditation extremely fast and effective. So now you will see the form of whatever negativity you wrote down in front of your inner eye without being fascinated by it. And now you see this form melt down into primordial stardust soup, really allowing the power of the full moon to help you. It's taking no more than 30 seconds. Very good. And now from this melted state, you see the desire that you wrote down begin to take form. Again, allowing the power of the full moon to support you in doing this. Once you see your form, write down your experience, pause the video, and resume when you're ready to move on to step 2. Okay, so now we're moving on to step 2, and you're going to look at where this full moon lunar eclipse is occurring in your birth chart, and you're going to write down the number. And then you can refer to the general house meanings on the next page, and you can highlight any keywords that trigger you from that house. And so these will be focuses that you have during this step. And then what I want you to do is then reflect upon forgetting and melting down doubt in regards to this area of the house. So, for example, if this is happening in your second house, you can focus on melting doubt about finances. If it's happening in your third house, you can focus on melting doubt about health or war or your employees or work or whatever. Because doubt is the greatest poison, you guys. If we have doubt, it's going to stop all spirituality. So pause the video, do these next 2 steps, and then when you're ready, press play, and then I'll guide you through the meditation. Okay, now I ask you to please close your eyes and see the form of this doubt in front of your inner eye. And now, allow the power of the full moon to melt it down into stardust. Now we send that stardust from its quantum state into the house that this full moon is occurring in our chart, healing it and injecting it with the power of certainty. Okay, you can open your eyes, pause the video, write down your experience, and resume it when you're ready to go to the last step. Okay, so now the third step is we're healing the world, because as we help others, we nurture our own projects. So in this final step, we're going to melt down doubt about whatever this moon is about, okay? So what I want you to do is to choose one of the 3 words that this um, new moon is all, I'm sorry, about this full moon is all about. So you can choose hoarding, greed, or material power, okay? Doesn't matter if you understand or if it doesn't make sense to you. Just pick one of those words. Okay? And now I ask you to please close your eyes and see the form of the word that you chose in front of your inner eye. Now allow the power of the full moon in Capricorn to melt it down into stardust. And now we can send that stardust back into the world in its wholesome expression to renew the energy in the world, or we can leave it in its stardust melted state. Very good. Please open your eyes, write down your experience, pause the video, and resume playback when you're ready for the last instructions. Okay, thank you very much for participating in the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn virtual ritual. I'm certain that it's very powerful and it's going to help the world. There are some few last things that you can do to really seal the energy of the connection that you've made. First of all, really important to be very happy for the next 72 hours to really protect the energy of the work that you've done. And you feel free to have a glass of red wine during this full moon window to help elevate and connect to that spiritual energy of wine and the grape. Now, also, the day after you do this meditation, what you can do is 4 different steps, 4 different things that you can do. The first thing you can do is you can really give a verbal gift to somebody else from your heart, all right? The second thing that you can do is pray for somebody who's deprived of something, right? The third thing you can do is send healing energy from your heart to someone who needs some healing. And the last thing that you can do is really something that you need to be doing all the time is don't judge other people, because when you judge them, you take on that negative energy and you don't take it away from them, you just add it to your own. So thank you again for doing this, and thank you for your trust. Please subscribe to my channel or like the video if it helped you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Hope to see you guys next time for the new moon meditation. And I thank you for being the one who makes a difference by using Dash Astrology. Okay, you guys, Alexander here. See you next time. Bye-bye.